Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to another Avengers Edition character. And on this lesser known, I'll be talking about a highly obscure Avengers character. And ironically, he only served with the main Avengers for a very short tenure during the middle 60s to like probably the beginning part of the 70s, I want to say. But I will be talking about Dr. Anthony Ludgate Druid. Sorry, temporarily got distracted. But yes, I'll be talking about Dr. Druid today. And Dr. Druid was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, and he debuted in Amazing Adventures #1 in June of 1961. And he is a supernatural monster hunter. Yes, kind of a little bit weird that an Avengers member is a monster hunter. But he was originally going to be called Dr. Droom in the 5 earliest appearances that he made. And he would appear in a lot of the supernatural titles like Ghost Rider and Son of Satan and so on and so forth. He was one of Marvel's more supernatural based characters. Pretty much a lot of people considered him the copycat version of Doctor Strange. And he's fought in the Hulk, he's teamed up with Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four. And Dr. Anthony Druid, ironically, is a psychologist and an explorer. And he has minor telepathic powers and is actually a skilled magician. His specialties are hypnosis and other feats of mesmerism. Basically, in other words, hypnosis and other kinds of stuff that involve, like hypnotizing opponents. Almost kind of like mind control, if you will. He does have minor magical abilities that have varied kind of throughout the years of him as a character. He is also an expert on the occult, and he was actually trained by a Tibetan, I think they said Lama. Kind of like the Dalai Lama, like basically, basically a high Tibetan monk priest or whatever you want to call it. I can't really specify here from the information that they're giving me. But pretty much he had come to the U.S. for medical attention. And years later, this is actually a cool little tidbit for those of you, especially myself, who are Doctor Strange fans. But the Tibetan Lama, quote unquote, that Druid had actually taken care of was actually, in fact, the Ancient One. The mentor to Doctor Strange was actually the one that Druid had taken care of. And he actually selected Druid as a backup in case, Doctor Strange, failed as an apprentice or, basically used his mastery of the white and black magic arts to, take over the world and whatnot. It's also revealed that actually, Druid was also a distant descendant of the real-life I can't quite pronounce that, Amergin, the Druid, who was a 10th century alchemist, I'm presuming. He had remained on the sidelines. Every now and again he would team up with the Hulk and with the Avengers and whatnot. He would actually eventually aid the Avengers in fighting against Baron Zemo and the 4th Masters of Evil when they took over the Avengers Mansion. Making contact with the mentally damaged Blackout and helping him resist Zemo's control also prompted him to bring Avengers Mansion back to Earth after banishing it to his Dark Force dimension. He would join the ranks of the Avengers shortly after, helping defend from this attack, and he would actually battle a doppelganger of Dracula in the Realm of Death. However, his membership would actually be tarnished as he would be mind controlled later by the supervillainous the Terminatrix. I think that's how you pronounce it. Yeah, yeah, Terminatrix, who at the time was impersonating the space pirate Nebula, and he manipulated the team on her behalf. He would eventually assume chairmanship, and when she was cast in limbo, Druid's spirit followed. However, eventually, his spirit would be freed, and he would resume back to Earth, where he learned of his true origin, banishing Nebula and making himself younger through magical means. And due to his actions, he was disgraced. So he pretty much formed with Doctor Strange, during the Infinity War, and he would later become a leader of the Secret Avengers. The Secret Defenders, I mean. He would also eventually by the Demon Lord Solarath, I think that's how you pronounce that, Slorioth. And eventually, with both Dr. Druid and the Demon defeated, he would fake his death and the team would be disbanded. He would later abandon, his I guess you can say spandex uniform for a more Druid-like appearance. However, he would become power hungry and would be full of rage, and he would eventually let these newfound powers and whatnot, and his rage of always being used as a pawn, take over him. And eventually he would be betrayed and would later finally be killed by Damien Hellstrom, the son of Satan. And his ghost would appear alongside the spirits of other dead ex-Avengers, confirming that he did in fact die. However, and they replaced a memorial statue of him in the garden of the Avengers mansion in his honor. Druid's son actually was introduced as a new recruit for Nick Fury during the Secret Invasion, and he only operated under the name Druid. And also during the Chaos War storyline, he would be among the dead heroes brought back to life when the Chaos King / God dominated the Death Realms. And there's a lot of other stuff, guys, but man, gotta say, for a very obscure Avengers character, yeah, for a character that's not all that well known, he's had a surprisingly significant, character history. Like, he's not completely obscure, guys, but he's obscure enough that, you really, really have to kind of be like a Marvel Comics nut to really understand, this character. And this is a character that Chris Yost, the creator of Earth's Mightiest Heroes, or one of, Marvel's big animation writers, likes. So maybe we might see him in Earth's Mightiest Heroes, guys. So, fingers crossed. But for an obscure character and a character, he's also been part of the Monster Hunters and the Unliving Legion, just so you know, team affiliation. So, although he had a very short tenure as an Avenger, nevertheless, Dr. Druid is a highly obscure, but definitely a very interesting and awesome hero. Stay tuned for the next one, guys.